Okay. There are a lot of screws in this that you have to take out. There's these end screws, there's these 2 screws, and then there's these screws. Basically all the screws on both ends come out that are screw heads. These are nuts, so you can ignore those. You can leave those where they are. Same thing down here. You take these 2 screws out, but these are actually nuts, so ignore those. Now what I learned in doing this is that you need tape, and you need lots of little bits of tape, and the reason is, unless you want to mark your power supply, which you could do, but I don't like to do that in case I end up using it in a place I can see it. I don't want marks all over it. So the way I do it is I keep track of what screw goes where using this masking tape. And you'll find when you do this, when you take this power supply apart, that the screws are different. There are actually 2 different screws, and they look very similar. But if you put the screw back in a different hole that's meant for another screw, it's not going to fit very well. So all I do is I just tape down each of these screws by the hole that it goes in, and I've never had a problem putting them back in the same hole. Now here it looks like there might be 2 missing screws, but I don't think that's the case because it's the same on the other one. So don't worry about that. I suppose that's fine. So take all the screws out and tape them near the holes where they came out. And I always, like in this case, this is a piece of metal here, separate from this one. I'm going to tape it to this piece of metal here, just to keep it kind of with the piece of metal that it goes through. Okay, now make sure all the screws are taped down really well, because this power supply is going to be leaving the bench and traveling shortly, so I don't want to lose any screws. This tape will come off plenty easily when it's time to put it back together. Don't want to have any screws fall out. Okay, so at this point you can start pulling these covers apart, and you don't need to really worry about too much about how it goes together, because it's pretty easy, even if you don't pay attention at this point, to get it back together. The one thing here to notice is that I pulled the side one off first, and there are these kind of gray insulating these sheets in here, and this metal flange actually goes between the outside of that and this metal case. So when you put it together, you kind of push it in like that, get it all aligned, and it'll slip right on. But in the past I've had trouble with you know, part of this going behind like that, and it just, it's obvious here, but it wasn't. And the first time it happened, it wasn't obvious to me. So now I've got this side all done, and don't worry about orientation or anything. Just set it aside. Yeah, see, there's a kind of a hinge here. So this, after you take that side panel off, this just opens up like a clamshell, just like that. So when you open it up, now's the time to take a good look, because this has likely been used and we don't know how long. So what I'm looking for here is anything discolored. That could be a component failure from overheating, or maybe a bad solder joint from the factory. I'm seeing a little bit of dust in here. That's not surprising, because it is fan ventilated, and it'll just draw in any dust that's nearby, and the dust tends to stick on this white compound. If it's thermal transfer compound, it's a grease and it stays pretty sticky, and dust just kind of tends to hang up on everything. So I'm going to do the best thing I can do with this, and that is take it, like I said, it's going to travel, so I'm going to take it out to my garage, to my air compressor, and I'm going to blow some compressed air in here and blow out any dust that I can possibly get out easily, and that should extend the life of it anyway, if anything. So I think it's worth doing.